Casual Geographic dropped a video just a few days ago, and we're always stoked whenever that happens. Yeah. Animals and nature. It's so fun. And when you got a fellow bull supporter, you know, making cool videos about these things, it's always fun. And we're talking about one of the slickest. I mean, he says some of the funniest shit. Very punny.
Yeah.
Very cool. Encourages people to stay hydrated and hug their moms. Both important things, I do believe. And, you know, there's been some wholesome videos. There's been some terrifying, disturbing videos.
Yeah.
But it's nature. It be what it be. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And I'm always excited to learn something new. I really don't know what this could be about because it's something evidently that I've never seen before.
You've never seen animals like this before. Now, we have actually seen some animals that we've never seen before.
That's true.
On Casual Geographic.
That's true.
So I'm interested. I don't know.
I'm interested. You guys want to check this one out? Let's do it.
Ma! Ma, come outside! There's a moose!
Oh, yeah.
Buffalo or some they're fighting.
The hell is that?
I don't know.
Oh, shit.
Do you know what this is? I bet you don't. Chances are, most of you have never seen this tree chunk before. I'll tell you in a second, but first, quick question. If you had to take a blind guess, how many species of mammals do you think are in the world? Think of all the ones you've seen in your entire life and try to imagine what number that would add up to. The answer, 6,495. And counting, and that's just the mammals. Add in animals in general, and we're talking millions. Which brings me to my next point.
Armageddon, something like that. Illuminati from Madagascar. What the is that? Damn, that's from Madagascar. Something from the Bronx. Oh, that's super nasty. One of the is right there on 14th Street.
This man is a wordsmith. Laugh at my man's all you want, but understand if school doesn't teach it to you and you don't see it in a zoo or on National Geographic, and it's not the animal of the week on Reddit, you'd have no way of knowing some animals even exist. Which is why I can personally guarantee that you haven't seen or heard of all 10 animals in this video. You might know 3 or 4, Animal Planet veterans might get 6 or 7, and hey, some of y'all might know 8 just from watching me long enough. But I promise you there's gonna be at least one animal I talk about that you've never heard of before. I put that on my hairline, and I wear this hat every video for a reason. So let's make a game out of it. If I show you something new, you lose, and you gotta comment what animal was the one to stump you. And for 90% of y'all, the game ends right here. Because what do you think this is? Some kind of monkey, maybe an obese lemur or an AI-generated sloth? You're not gonna believe this. It's a koala. Okay, not really, but koala is actually closer than anything else I said. This porky, dead-eyed struggle monkey is the bear cuscus, and despite looking like nature made it on a deadline with spare parts, it's actually a marsupial. This thing that looks like a Madagascar understudy is more related to kangaroos, devils, and quokkas than it is to any lemur. And that's about as much as we know about them because we haven't been able to figure out much more. They've essentially been gatekept from the rest of the world, only found on the Indonesian island of Sulawesi and remote islands nearby. We have no clue how many overstuffed tree chunguses or chungi are in circulation. Currently, only 4 zoos have this monkey sloth on its roster. Even its name is an identity crisis since cuscus means possum, meaning on paper, you're looking at a bear possum, but its Latin name is Ailurops ursinus. And I didn't take Latin in high school because French was too sexy, but I'm pretty sure that means cat bear. Basically, not even science had a handle on what this off-brand koala was. And they have the same meal plan as them, and since they eat nothing but leaves, they virtually spend their entire lives on quarter playback speed. In fact, this great value lemur spends 5% of its day eating and 63% resting. That's 16 hours a day eating and recovering from eating.
Same.
That is load management, and boy is this tree chunk a load. They'd probably be cute if their eyes didn't disturb me on a spiritual level. This is a cuscus that has seen some shit. And clearly they never recovered since they're painfully shy and will even cover themselves with leaves if they see you first since they're terrified of humans and only live in the most isolated areas of the forest. Also, this is a Thalud bear cuscus and they're a lot cuter, but it also looks like a wombat that got severely laced.
Look at that
But with them being highly rare tree-loving marsupial introverts, it makes sense that you've probably never seen them before. But the next animal is probably the biggest one you've never heard of. This animal has been called 6 dissimilarities, and it's because it honestly looks like a wildebeest, buffalo, bear, and friends all did a fusion dance, and this was the outcome. This absolute unit is the takin, and they can stress the scales at up to 800 pounds of pure confusion. The takin is essentially a giga goat, with their closest relatives being the mountain goat and the chamois. And yes, the mountain goat isn't an actual goat because that makes sense. The Sichuan takin actually shares a range with the giant panda, and they use that nose to heat up air before it hits their lungs. That nose job of necessity also makes it look like a moose that got too cocky with a beehive. which is no joke how they were first described by scientists.
Beast
I won't do this for
almost.
every animal, but its Latin name, Budorcus taxicolor, means badger-colored cow ox. Interesting. Takins also sweat oil that smells like burning rubber, and they use this to mark their territory. They're not known menaces, but they do have their moments. In 2007, a takin broke into a man's house and injured him and 8 other people, one of them a pregnant woman. And in 2018, during a routine visit from the vet, a takin decided he wasn't having it anymore, busting out his enclosure doors and wandering the zoo for an hour, injuring 2 workers in the process. Basically, he's not a killer, but don't push him. Same thing with the next animal on this list, which might be the second biggest creature you've never heard of. Because the tapir is endowed in more ways than one.
I've seen one of
seen it.
those.
Guidelines Willie. It's a giant plus-size river pig that's actually closer to horses, rhinos, and wild asses. Oh, and donkeys too. They're also the national animal of Belize. Shout out to Belize if y'all out there. There's 4 types of tapirs, and the Malaysian one might just strike a nostalgia nerve if you ever played Pokemon. Because Drowsy was actually based on the travel-sized Oreo elephants of Asia. According to mythology, this tapir was associated with the Japanese Baku, and the Baku were said to feed on the dreams of people, especially nightmares. The IRL tapirs are pretty chill for what they are, even though they can get into the neighborhood of 700 pounds.
Oh
my
But they have the
God.
dental facilities to bite clean through your arm, so they're definitely one of those F around and find out animals. One
No,
family
thank you.
found out when a tapir nearly ripped a 2-year-old in half during a supervised visit in a Dublin zoo. But for the most part, this boneless river rhino is just a flaccid-faced, gentle giant that I kind of wish the world was more aware of. I mean, just look at the teeth on this little guy.
That's
you can't tell
cute.
me that's not cute.
That's
Speaking
cute.
of babies and where they come from, tapirs must have made a deal with the devil we don't know about, since they have a 5th leg long enough to use as a tripod or as a DIY back scratcher. When it
Oh
comes to
my
herbivorous mammals of the
God.
world, the tapir is the real cock of the walk. And to cleanse your eyes from that unsolicited salami
Thank
stick, I
you.
give you the sensei
Thank
bunny.
you.
It's actually a rodent called a viscacha, and
What?
its closest relative is the chinchilla. But sensei bunny just makes sense, especially since this is their default pose. And it's because where
Sushi.
viscachas live is chilly. It's also kind of cold, so they spend every morning sunbathing and waiting to provide advice to anyone who requires it. Also, I really wish I didn't waste that Chungus joke earlier, because come on,
Yeah.
it's right there. And the reason they look like a vertically cheated but horizontally defeated obese wallaby is because, like the chinchilla, the viscacha has some of the densest fur on the planet. Also, I'll be honest, I knew about the viscacha. I did not know they could move like that. That's an actual sleeper build.
Damn.
No, like literally, they look like they were built to sleep when they're not passing judgment. This is the look of an animal whose natural predator is a P-test. Brother is faded. But yeah, that's the viscacha. And by the way, if you didn't lose the game already, this next animal almost guarantees you will. Because yeah, there is an animal in this picture, and it's possibly the cutest thing most people know nothing about. And that's because not only is this animal nocturnal and lives in the Amazon equivalent of a penthouse, during the day, it's sleeping in the silk cotton tree camouflaged as a seed pod fiber. And that's how the silky anteater got its name. Because when your biggest ops are eagles with some of the best vision on earth, that is the best you can do. Like the rest of the anteater family, they have claws. And unlike their cousin the sloth, they actually know how to use them. A sleeping silky will nap with its 4 legs and claws right next to its face.
it's like-
Really not that different from dozing off with a knife under your pillow. They also can eat 5,000 ants
Whoa!
a day, and they use that sticky bark tongue to skewer and trap their
I
protein.
don't know, man.
And since anteaters have
That thing
0
is
teeth,
wild
they have stomachs
looking.
like bird gizzards designed to grind the ants down. Proof that beauty is subjective, because what's cute to us is a harbinger of death and genocide if you're an ant. But I'm not an ant, and you probably aren't either, so let's just take some time to marvel at this pocket-sized baby-faced dollar brand sloth. And it's not the only token from South America on this list. Cue the Hollow Knight. This might look like a regular run-of-the-mill bird, but this little dude has one of the coldest pickup lines in the game. That is a club-winged manakin singing a love song with his feathers. Basically, this small bird from Central and South America has modified flight feathers, and by vibrating them, the manakin shoots a shot with a specialized sound that varies by bird. Some manakins do a solid violin impression, others sound like fireworks on the 4th of July. Also, they make this sound by shaking their feathers 100 times a second, twice as fast as a mascot for ADHD,
Holy
the
shit.
hummingbird. And they do all this while dancing. They're really the Michael Jackson of birds. And I'm not even gonna pretend like I know everything. I didn't even know they existed until like a week ago. And if it wasn't for a certain holiday, this next animal might not exist, period. Also, I know the whole crab thing has kind of become a meme, but we're gonna have to talk about how many animals' endgame is a rabbit. This is the second animal here that isn't even remotely related to them, yet still
Whoa!
holds the
Mouse?
design. The bilby is another marsupial, meaning this and Snorlax monkey are basically family. The greater bilby can be found in the harsh arid
What the
deserts of
fuck?
Australia.
It's not a
Now you might be
rabbit?
asking, is there a lesser bilby? And yeah, there was. And now they're dead. so clearly not good enough. The greater bilby's not that far behind since they're endangered, which is pretty wild for an animal that only gets pregnant for 2 weeks. Not even exaggerating, at about 14 days, bilbies have one of the shortest cook times of any animal. They're also a close relative of the bandicoot. Yeah, that's a real animal, the more you know. But yeah, greater bilbies used to inhabit 70% of Australia, and today they're barely holding on to less than 20. And a big reason was humans airdropping threats like foxes and feral cats. But these days the word's been getting out about the plight of the appropriation bunny, and they can thank the sale of chocolate bilbies on Easter. Easter bilbies started in '93, and they've been part of the culture ever
How
since.
cute.
It's only right that they replaced rabbits, since rabbits are one of the things that got the bilby population in the mud. But today, there's well over 3,000 of them. Not great, but they're not in the worst spot. They're not as down bad as animal number 8, since there's only hundreds of them left on the planet.
What?
Nobody would blame you if you went your entire life without seeing it, since they're shy, endangered, and the only place you can find them is in special underground caves in the Balkans. The Olm is a salamander that's blind, vampire pale, and happens to be one of the most fundamentally confusing animals in the world. First of all, they're not born blind, but they lose their eyes a couple months after they're born and even grow a layer of skin over them.
Wow.
Yet they can still detect and avoid light. The Olm can go a whole decade without food by storing important nutrients in their liver. Usually when you talk about animals that live the longest, you're looking at relatively bigger creatures like elephants, whales, and tortoises.
Yeah.
This tiny blind salamander has a lifespan more comparable to us at about 70 years, and scientists believe they can max out at well over a century. For reference, there might be an Olm salamander right now that was alive when World War I popped off. A reason for this is, unlike Archduke Ferdinand, the Olm has 0 enemies. There was even one Olm on record that straight up didn't move for a whole 7 years. The Manakin Challenge was in 2016. Bro just never stopped playing. Olms don't be rushing for anybody, which is why they wait once a decade to get laid. Yeah, they only breed about once every 12 years, which is probably why there's only an estimated 400 in stock. They done protected their peace so much that their whole community finna rest in it. And for animal number 9, you're gonna have to hear me out. Hyenas aren't unknown at all, but out of the 4 species of them, the brown hyena is by far the rarest and least talked about. Which sucks, because they're actually one of my favorite predators in Africa,
So
because I love
ugly.
being an underdog.
Hold
They're
on.
not really great hunters and will often get checked by lions.
I have seen chihuahuas that look like that thing. They'll be like 15 years old and just
Teeth falling out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hair
my
falling
stepmom
out.
Had one.
and then act
Coco.
like you should be afraid of them.
Oh yeah, like he
Yeah.
would. Like I specifically remember in one day he lost 3 teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And bitch, test me. You know, I may turn into a pile of dust, but I will bite you
I
first.
love animals, but
Yeah.
I was not a fan of him.
Lions and even their own spotted cousins. Not to mention wild dogs and jackals can get their licks in on their cubs. But brown hyenas are also major kleptos that'll pocket kills from their competition. Sometimes they'll body a 5v1 against cheetahs and walk away with their food and their pride. 2 things I think are pretty dope about them is 1, even though they're not dogs, brown hyenas have a social structure a lot like a wolf pack with the 2 parents and all their kids. And number 2 is that they managed to turn an abandoned town into a nursery. There's an old ghost town in the Namibian desert that has no trace of humans, yet brown hyenas use the desolate houses and empty mines as dens to keep their kids in while they go grocery shopping, which can mean up to 20 miles of walking a day. One famous hyena mother has apparently lived in these forgotten ruins for 15 years and even raised 9 generations of cubs.
Wow.
And
They
counting.
look cool as
Moral of the
shit.
story,
Looks cool.
hyenas deserve better, and Simba really ain't shit for putting them out like this. But that ain't even close to how hard humanity has violated the last animal here. This isn't a raccoon, skunk, or a cat. It's one of the members of the cat side of the carnivore family, specifically called feliform, which makes this result of an over-the-hedge orgy more related to hyenas than they are to the raccoons they cosplay as. The African civet is only one of over a dozen
Civet.
species of civets seasoned across
I feel like
Africa
I've heard
and
of
Asia.
that.
The raccoon colorway is actually a form of camouflage, since the patterns break up their outline and makes it harder to spot them in the bush. You might not have seen them in the flesh and fur, but you might have heard about them, especially if you drink coffee, because the world's
Yes.
most expensive and gate-kept coffee, Kopi
Good
Luwak,
coffee.
is made from the coffee beans found in the poop of the Asian palm civet. How they literally put 2 and 2 together to come up with that, I don't want to know. And of course, this demand can lead to civets being captured, caged, and force-fed coffee beans in order to supply. Full disclosure, I don't drink coffee, so I really wouldn't know, but there's no way it can be worth it. And it's not even the only civet to get its brown eye exploited by people. That was a wild sentence. African civets produce a musk, this white, nasty-smelling stuff that scientists like to call civet butter. Civets use it to mark their territory, but somehow
Ew.
people figured out they can use its butt glands for perfume, specifically
Why?
Chanel number 5. And they get the juices they need by scraping it from the civet's pink balloon knot. So if you have some Chanel on deck and it says natural ingredients on the bottle, there's a good chance it came from, yeah, But yeah, civets in general are pretty cool. They can actually be super affectionate when raised by people.
Aww.
And if I had to pick a favorite, I'd have to go with Austin's palm civet. Literally only because I think they're cool looking. I mean,
they are
you're gonna tell me I'm wrong? So yeah, that's 10 animals you've probably never seen before. Except when I was making this list, I was stuck at 11 and could not decide what animal to leave off. But then I realized I have free will, and this is my channel, so y'all get a bonus animal and probably my favorite animal on here. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the tree kangaroo. Specifically the Goodfellas tree kangaroo. Like the name suggests, this kangaroo's entire personality is trees. They're mad awkward on land, but they can jump from a height of 3 stories and fully tank the fall damage. They're kind of like the cuscus because of where and how they live. A lot of people in the same area as them have no clue they exist. But unlike the cuscus, who looks like the drop bear Aussies keep warning us about, the Goodfellow genuinely looks like a tree-loving teddy bear. And it's not just them. There's 14 flavors of branch bears, including the incredibly rare tenkyle, with only hundreds of them alive today. And the Wandiwa tree kangaroo, who scientists genuinely believe went extinct after going off the grid for 90 years. Until they randomly just popped up out of nowhere. And for y'all that don't understand, it's like the science equivalent of Tupac being alive this entire time in Cuba. Proving that when it comes to nature, the only thing we know for sure is that we really don't know much at all. But that's gonna do it for this video. Make sure to check out my TikTok and Instagram for more consistent uploads as you wait for the next video. And if you'd like to support this channel even more, becoming a patron on Patreon earns you access to exclusive content, videos before I post them, and you can even help vote on my next video. In fact, if you're already a patron, you probably voted for this one. But like I always say, it's more for like leftover money you're not gonna miss. Don't feel like you have to give anything, because really, if you watched the video this far, you've done more than enough. But make sure you drink water, hug your mother. Do let me know how many animals I stumped you on. I'm actually curious. And I'm gonna see y'all in the next one.
So cute.
It is so cute. Yeah. And the colors are crazy too.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that that didn't look like, I think her name was Sarah from
The
Land Before Time. Like the
I know what you're talking about, but
the 3-pronged
Triceratops.
Triceratops. That's what I thought it was.
No.
Yes, it did.
No,
its little like nose looked like a little
Did not
Triceratops.
look like a Triceratops.
Nose. Yes, it
No,
did.
it did not.
It's a little dinosaur kangaroo
Look,
boy. That was a mama.
I know
girl.
that this is hard for you to accept, but you're wrong.
I mean, it's just an opinion, so
That's fine.
I'm not wrong. You can think otherwise.
I mean, you are wrong. That's fine.
I think that it did. What did you guys think? I think it kind of looked like a little dinosaur.
I did not know about that salamander that can live for like
neither.
70 years.
Okay,
That's crazy.
What doesn't make any fucking sense to me? I understand they don't need their eyes. That's great. Whatever. You're born without eyes. You don't need them. And you adapt. And
No, they lose their eyes.
But why would you be born with functional eyes and then your
Because
skin
they hadn't
grows
evolved.
over top of
They
it?
hadn't evolved out of needing their eyes yet. Like their evolutionary cycle has not got to the point where it's like, hey, you don't need
So
eyes
like
at all.
it's just like in the process.
Yeah, probably.
See, that's
Aren't
something
we
that
all?
we've talked about. I think on Casual Geographic before. It's like, or maybe it was on the Lindsay Nicole. Well, I think that's her name.
Probably the crab video.
That they were talking about how, I think it was her, that you just imagine everything to be at its final form. Like
Yes.
it just has evolved
like
up
is.
to this point, and it just is,
that
and
is,
that's
yeah.
all it's gonna be. So that probably is the reason why it does still have eyes and then doesn't have eyes. But that just is mind blowing to me.
That is mind blowing.
Because I just never think about things changing into completely different things. I don't know. It's just weird.
Interesting. But I'm curious also, which one of these animals did you learn about? I learned about pretty much every damn one of them.
I think that Nikki is full of shit.
Yeah,
Thanks.
well, you're not alone.
That is the only animal that I knew for certain was the poop coffee.
I have heard about the poop coffee.
Civet.
I did not know what animal
Civet.
it was that
Yes.
was involved in that. But there you go. You know, he gives me too much credit in thinking that only one of them would stump me. I was stumped the entire time, and I will continue to be stumped after we get done reacting to this video because I don't know shit. But I do appreciate Casual Geographic and all the awesome shit he does with his cool videos and his motivational and encouraging statements at the end of each and every video. I appreciate you guys for hanging out with us while we react to this. Hopefully you had a good time.
Yeah.
And we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.